Hi everyone, welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life with Veena World. Now, last week I decided to take a break, and Sunila and Raina did an excellent episode on Queensland. This was actually our second episode on Queensland, and as with many countries, many places, we are going to do round two episodes of them because every place changes over time. And it was only yesterday that our colleagues from Sentosa Island were at our office and they laid out a complete 10 to 20-year plan. And that made us believe that every place keeps changing. So if you've been to a country once, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same 5 years down. But today we are going to do round one of a country that is in the north of Africa, a country which also houses the northernmost city in Africa, a country that has many UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and a country that has many Roman influences, many African influences, and a country that has food to die for. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been to this place, but Sunila has. And it is the latest country to be a part of the destinations that Veena World does tours to. We are soon going to launch, or we are soon going to actually have our first departure to Tunisia, a country in Africa, which is going to have the first Veena World guest travel to this country. And I just happened to meet one of the guests who is actually going on this tour in a couple of weeks. And he proudly said that, Neil, I'm going on your tour to Tunisia. And let me tell you, this is the 83rd country that I'm going to visit. And his next question to me was, how many countries have you visited, Neil? And I was like, so I have not visited as many as you. I'm still close to 50, but not hit the 50 mark. So our question today, as we start Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, is how many countries have you visited? And the reason we are doing this episode is one, because Tunisia is a beautiful country and everyone should know about it. But Tunisia is also a country that goes into your bucket list because as we embark on reaching 25 country milestones, 50 country milestones, 75 country milestones, Tunisia will be one part that you will definitely check off at least once in your lifetime, if not more than that. So Sunila, welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life.
Hi, Neil, and hi, everyone. It's so good to be here and talk about Tunisia.
Exactly. And well, you've been there. And of course, like I said, Tunisia would be one of the 85 plus countries that you have done in your lifetime. So, what is a good point to start this episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life? And it feels good to be back.
Yes, Neil. Neil, I think a great point to start. Actually, I'm going to throw this question back to you. What comes to your mind when you think of Tunisia? Because not many people have really a good image, or they don't have no image of Tunisia, I think. Like you said Africa. Yes, it is in Africa. It is the northernmost part of Africa. But Africa is so diverse. If you just take the whole continent, right, from South Africa and Cape Town, it's completely European. Then you have Kenya, Tanzania, again, very different. East Africa is different. West Africa is different. You have Congo, you have the forest, you have the jungle. Um, you have the plains of Mara and Serengeti, and then you have Morocco, and you have Algeria and Tunisia. So there is a lot of variety here. So what comes to your mind, Neil, when you think of Tunisia? Is there any image you have in your mind?
So, as I was studying for this episode and I was going through the itinerary that we have, I feel it is a country where you will have many historical and cultural vibes. It might be a country because it is on the northern tip of Africa. There will be good beaches, is what I think.
Yes.
And the beaches will also have warmer water because if you see the west of Europe or the west of Africa, that is hitting the Atlantic Ocean and the water gets colder over there. But as you move to the north of Africa, the water starts getting warmer. So I don't know, is that the Mediterranean Sea that
Yes, it is.
it touches,
So,
right?
so I'm
Yeah.
going to do this one thing. It really it's like where I like to say that Tunisia is where the Mediterranean meets Africa. Like
Hmm.
on if you see the word map, on the other side of the Mediterranean, you have Italy, you have Sicily, you have Malta, and you have further on the other Mediterranean regions. And just on this side, you have Tunisia. So it's like looking at the world from the other side of the Mediterranean. We are so used to it from the European side. Now you get to experience it from the African side. So Neil, imagine, if I say Santorini, what comes to your mind?
The white buildings,
The white
everyone
and the blue
clicking, yeah,
domes,
clicking
right? The
photos
beautiful
at the
blue domes.
sunset and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. If we say Rome, then you think of the Colosseum, maybe like the
Yeah.
gladiators and the
Yeah,
huge Colosseum,
exactly.
right? And if I say Paris Saint Champs Elysees, what comes to your mind?
I don't know, if you say Paris, it's the city of love, it's the city of croissants, it
Yes.
is the city of good food and the Eiffel Tower. So,
Yeah,
and
the
the
good food,
Louvre,
Eiffel
yeah,
Tower, and if you stand
the
on
Arc de
Champs Elysees, a lot
Triomphe.
of avenues with these beautiful trees that are all lined up, right?
Yeah,
And well, if you think of the Arab world, then you think of deserts. You think of
yeah.
the Sahara Desert, for example. Now take all of this and mix it up nicely, and you have Tunisia. So there is just, it's not just culture. Yes, you have culture, you have history, but that's not the only thing that you have here. So if you take a UNESCO World Heritage Site right in the middle of Tunisia, in the middle of the city is the Medina. But alongside that, you also have a boulevard that I was standing there and I said, if I take a picture and just post it without saying where I am, people will ask me that when did you go to Paris, for example, or Sidi Bouzid, the small little town close to Tunis. It looks exactly like Santorini. I went there and I said, wow, and I actually sat down in one of the beach cafes watching the sun go down and just jasmine flowers everywhere. And then I went and saw El Gem, which was a Colosseum. So it's amazing how history has shaped Tunisia into what it is. To give more credit to Tunisia, it's like the Europeans' favorite holiday place outside Europe, I think, because everywhere that I went, all I could see was busloads of European tourists who were coming down. And this was pre-pandemic, of course, but such beautiful resorts, amazing beaches. You have the desert, you have waterfalls, you have everything together in Tunisia. So really, I wanted to paint a picture of Tunisia before we get in and we start talking more about the region, the whole Maghreb region, and a little bit of the history and other things. So, I mean, I hope the image looks wonderful, just thinking of what all things Tunisia has to offer.
It certainly, Sunila, sounds like a mix of rich cultural and historical heritage. And as I was researching for the episode, I came across many cities which were super amazing cities back in the day, and
Yeah.
then they were just abandoned. Then
Mm-hmm.
again, archaeologists found them and all of
Mm.
that. So I will start the episode, or I'll just start this discussion asking you, what are the main cities that form Tunisia? And then we could pick certain things, because discussing the entire country in one
Mm.
episode would mean we won't do justice to it.
Yeah.
So I will let you take the course of this episode. But then
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned Tunis, which
Yeah.
is the largest and the capital city of Tunisia. So I guess, should we start there?
I think that's a good point. And it is the capital city. It's where you get in. And the best part, Neil, is that you don't need a visa. You don't have to apply for a visa as an Indian national. So if you wish, you could leave tomorrow. Like if you say, oh wow, I have a weekend off, and you want to take off, you can actually take off and go to Tunisia, because the passport is stamped on arrival. And I was pleasantly surprised when I went there to see that all of the immigration officers were women. Like somehow I've not seen that in any other country. I don't know if it was just the day that I landed there, but everyone sitting there was a woman, and it was amazing. And they were so well dressed and so pretty. It was really amazing, like a nice entry into the country. And Tunis is the capital city. You have the Bardo National Museum, which I think unfortunately right now is closed. But it has a nice world-class collection of mosaics out there, and it's really going to be the point that you get in and you get out of when you visit Tunisia. And it's a very pretty city, very pretty. So we'll keep probably jumping back into history again and again as we talk of Tunisia, because it just makes it easy to understand. So long back, like 1100 BC, Phoenicians came into Tunisia. And there's also a really cute and funny story about how they came in and, they set up the whole empire here. And they set up this beautiful city of Carthage. And the Carthaginians were amazing. Like they were really good with naval power. They were good with building things. So these were like the Italians before the Italians. They really knew how to build cities, how to create trade and all of that. So they were very, very powerful. And then the Romans came in. they destroyed everything, they took it over. And the original inhabitants of Tunisia are the Berbers. They're a tribe called the Berbers. And of course, with the Arabs and the Berbers, there were things happening again and again. And after that, the Turkish Ottoman Empire came over. And then the French came down to Tunisia. So there were Germans too in between. But after that, it became a republic. So with all of this, you see, history speaking to you wherever you go in Tunisia and at different places. And I'm telling you, Tunis was this point where I could see all of that come together, because right on the main street of Tunis, you have this sign saying, I love Tunis. And when I was standing there and you had these trees that were planted, wide boulevards, and it just looked like Paris. Even the buildings resembled Paris. Then I went a little further ahead and I was in the Medina, and it was like these magic carpets that people were selling and lamps, and in the word of Aladdin, you feel like that, which actually the Medina is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So you can see that. Then you can go to Carthage, which is again a short excursion from Tunis. So you do it in a day trip. And it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is like you see the ruins there, and then it speaks to you about how the Carthaginians had, developed the city. And then you see the Roman baths and you see all of that. So Tunis really becomes this very important place that you would keep coming back to. Another thing that you can do is from Tunis, you go to a very pretty village called Sidi Bou Said. It's just about an hour from Tunis. And Sidi Bou Said is like looking at Santorini in Tunisia. It's all whitewashed, blue domes, and they have these cute little cafes by the edge of but you have to go early to get a good place if you want a sunset view. And then you can have your coffee, you can have your, any of your, any kinds of whatever drinks or food and stuff, and watch the sun go down. So it's a nice sundowner kind of a place. And the cliffs are amazing. And all through Sidi Bou Said, you see the jasmine flower, which is also the national flower of Tunisia, and everywhere. So it's quite pretty. In fact, I was lucky I could stay for one night in Sidi Bou Said in something called a dar. A dar is like a riyad or a haveli in Rajasthan, like the traditional homes. But, if you want to see all of Tunisia, then you can't be moving from one place to the other, which is about an hour away. So I would say stay in Tunis if you can, but just take an excursion, do all of this, and come back to the city as well. It also has some amazing rooftop bars, but it's a trick to find them. You need a good guide, because you'll never know. It's like a bhul bhulaiya. You walk in and you miss that place, you will never know where the rooftops are. So that's kind of Tunis, and it's a great starting point and also an ending point for your tour to Tunisia. But it's an amazing place. So yeah, that's
one question I wanted to ask you is, moving between cities, what mode of transportation did you take?
I just took a car and a driver, because Neil, I was doing a solo trip. I was by myself in Tunisia. So sometimes, actually, when we launched the tour, a lot of people said, is it safe? Is it this? And I said, look, I was there alone, like completely alone, and everything was perfect. In fact, some people drive, but I would say don't drive, take the driver, because you need to know the roads really well. Or a group tour. I mean, it's a great way to travel. The roads are pretty good. Very nice roads. So the coaches are good, your cars are good, and road travel is the best way to travel in Tunisia. So it would be a road trip.
Nice. You mentioned solo travel. I'm going to go on to a tangent over here.
Yeah.
I was recently at one of the colleges in Mumbai giving a guest lecture. And one of the questions I was asked by a student was that, Neil, I want to start solo traveling, and you've done many solo travel trips. What is the one thing that you need to start solo traveling? And I just said confidence. Like, if you have the confidence, you can do it. Would you agree?
100% I would agree. I would just add one more thing to it. With confidence, just be aware of safety, because when you're alone, you would, it's good to be adventurous and go off into little streets and other things, but always keep that safety aspect in mind. So at least someone needs to know where you are, in that sense. So if you can plan and go through a company, it makes even more sense for me. Like, I booked the services just because I wanted to be sure, especially in a new place. Or if you know the destination, like say Europe, maybe London or Paris, you don't need anybody. But to a completely new destination, always go through someone that you can trust and rely on. But yeah, all you need is confidence. The rest just comes.
Okay, let's come back to Tunisia. Now, we spoke about Tunis, and you spoke about a few other cities, but I wanted to discuss the food and drink culture of Tunisia because
Yes.
that is very rich. And you
Mm.
mentioned there were rooftop cafes where you can have nice drinks, some nice restaurants, and all of that. Now, I have personally made a list of the different foods and the drinks that you
Okay.
get in Tunisia because I like doing that, right? But
Yeah.
what do you remember from that trip that you've done? What are some of the foods that come to your mind?
There were two, three things that really keep coming back to my mind, and I can't forget that.
Hmm.
The first thing is the tajine, and it was
Yes.
just amazing. It was amazing. It's kind of milder in flavor, but it's a stew with, I think we had lamb and chicken, like a
Yeah, it's
mix
generally
with
meat,
vegetables
fish,
and
or
some
vegetables.
couscous. And the tajine pots are so pretty that
Oh,
all
yeah.
through Morocco and all of that, you see that, right? Of course, for cooking on a daily basis, they use the simple ones, which are clay, I guess. It's clay, red clay. But then you can buy the pretty ones and come back as a souvenir. And I think that's a great souvenir to bring back home from Tunisia, for example. And you can actually even cook in the pretty ones. You just have to clean them. It's nothing like that. So I really love the tajine. And because I was single, they were really very accommodating. And in fact, in the dad that I stayed, they made a small one for me, like a
Yeah.
single dish, which
Otherwise, it
was,
can be very big, right?
yeah, it is
Like,
huge.
yeah.
So she came out with this small little tajine, and I really love that. Another thing I like, and I think you will really enjoy that a lot, is the spicy harissa paste. It's
Yes.
amazing. Bring it back in, like, bottles and bottles of harissa if you want. It's the chili peppers and spices and garlic and everything mixed together. And everywhere you go, they will give you the harissa paste, to try it. So I remember bringing back a
Because
bottle
you
of
can
that
use it
as
as a
well.
dip also. You can use it as a marinade also, right?
Perfect. Marinade,
Yeah.
dip, side dish, like a pickle. When you think, like, it really worked well because the tajine was mild, and then you have harissa paste to add the
Yeah.
spice. So that was perfect. Mint tea everywhere. So everywhere you go, you have mint tea, which I really enjoyed, which was amazing. The coffee was also good, but I really enjoyed the tea out there, I must say. So which kind of holds true for Morocco as well, and the whole Maghreb region. And we'll talk about Maghreb later. But yeah, those were things. And one more thing I enjoyed was, trying to be like the local out there. I was walking through the streets of the Medina, and there were some vendors selling fruits on the streets, exactly like for 2 minutes I thought maybe I'm in Dadar or something, with those truck, those stalls and hand drawn stalls and everything. So he was selling cactus fruit.
Oh.
And you know what was nice? He had kept it in ice. So it was kind of nice to have ice cold cactus fruit. And he was peeling it off, cutting the fruit, and it was very sweet and very delicious. I loved it. So if I could, I would even bring that back. But somehow, just the way he was serving it, like a simple man on the street, and they had ice buckets, and they would store this fruit in the ice bucket, open it, cut it, and you can enjoy the cactus fruit. So I had a mix, and then the sweets were nice. So,
Yeah.
quite similar to a baklava, something like that. So it was nice. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't
So,
remember the sweets so much, but these three things are really good.
one thing about Tunisia is that it's a vegetarian friendly country.
Yes.
And well, I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks, but
Mhm.
um most countries now, like I say Japan because often they say that Japan is not a vegetarian friendly country.
Mm.
I'm going to put it to the test because I'm going to go with Heta, and of course her parents are also there, so it's going to be this. But when I was looking, yeah, you were saying
No, I
you
was
were,
just going
yeah.
to say that, well, one of our friends, Reena, was in Japan recently, and she said she was pleasantly surprised to see the kind of vegetarian options, like, our takoyaki and other things. She found vegetarian options for that, and she didn't go looking, but
Yeah.
she just found it. So I think it's
Yeah.
probably a lot more vegetarian food in Japan now as well.
Yeah. So speaking of Tunisia, there's the couscous, which
Yes.
is the traditional
Yeah.
Tunisian dish. Many people don't know that couscous is from Tunisia, right? Which is basically steamed semolina grain served with vegetables and meat. Then there is, did you notice a lot of baked items or fried
Yes.
pastry items, right? So that's called the brick, which is
Yeah.
filled with tuna, egg, or meat, and it's like a popular street food.
Mm.
Then, if I were to ask you, Sunila, if what is the word for soup in Hindi or in Mughlai cuisine? What?
Shorba.
Yes, right. So
Yeah.
a soup in Tunisia, it's not Shorba, but it's Chorba, which is chorba,
Wow.
which is a
Okay.
traditional Tunisian soup.
Uh,
Then there is, of course, harissa that was on
yeah.
my list. Then there is a traditional Tunisian porridge, which like can be treated as a drink also and as food also, which is known as the bisisa. So
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Ziza. Yeah.
sisa, something like
Sisa.
that.
Yeah.
So like, that offers a very different thing. And when it comes to salad, there is something known as the mekwaya or mekuia, which is
Mm-hmm.
grilled vegetables, tomatoes, and often if you want it, it's served as a side dish. So there were many food items that I came across, but most of them were either baked pastries or fried pastries and all of that. And when it comes to the drinks, the list of drinks that I have made, and every country tends to have different drinks that they offer. So one thing or two things, like you mentioned the mint tea, like a Tunisian tea
Mm.
is a mint tea, and of course there is fresh mint leaves and sugar that you have with that. You'll often find that as a welcome drink at many of the hotels. But along with that, another thing is the tamarind juice. The tamarind
Yeah.
juice is very popular in Tunisia, especially in the hot summer months. Then they also have a drink that is made from the juice of the brick pastry that we talked about, and it is known as the juice de brick. So that's also a popular street drink. And there is a cold fruit soup also that you get, which is known as the soup de fruit, and it is made from a variety of apricots, peaches, and apples. So that's also an interesting drink. But the most interesting drink that I came across was the cactus fruit juice. Did
Yeah.
you get a chance to try it? I don't think so.
No, like I said, I had the cactus fruit, but I didn't get a chance to go and actually have the juice out there.
Yeah.
And I would go back to Tunisia, so maybe I'll put it on my
Yes,
list for
because
next time.
cactus is unusual,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It is known as fuguier, and they say that it tastes sweet and refreshing, and
Mm-hmm.
of course made from the juice of the cactus fruit. And it's mainly popular in the desert regions of Tunisia. And finally, one thing that people don't talk about, but it's slowly starting to come up, is the wine industry in Tunisia,
Yeah.
which produces a lot of reds, whites, and rosé wines, and it's the local grape varieties that you can find. So when it comes to food, drink, and the entire gastronomy that is present in Tunisia, you will find a very diverse cuisine, because like you said, it's not one influence. There were the Romans,
Yeah.
there were the French, there was the Ottoman Empire. So there's meat, there's vegetables, there's soup, there's bakery goods, there's fried stuff. So whether you're a health freak, or whether you just love your junk food, you're going to find something
Yeah, and
definitely
there's, you
in there.
spoke about junk food. So there's something I tried actually, and I would recommend everyone to try it. It's like a fried pastry. It's called bambolini, and you see it in Sidi Bouzid quite a lot. So it's like a churro, for example, something like that, but it's fried and with it's like a donut and sugar on the top. But it's quite tasty. So you see these little stalls in Sidi Bouzid selling that. So definitely
Hmm.
go ahead and try
You
that.
know, one question, like a follow-up question I want to ask you is that you mentioned that, okay, a tagine pot is something that you can definitely bring back.
Mm-hmm.
A harissa paste, a bottle of harissa paste is something that you can definitely bring back. Anything else that comes to your mind that, okay, like, these are the traditional arts and crafts of Tunisia, or the souvenirs or gifts that you can get back for your friends and family from there?
Yeah, Neil, there are a lot. Like I remember I posted a few photos on social media and I had requests saying, can you please, like people would mark the on my photo and mark up and send it back to me saying, can you please bring me some of this? Can you please bring me that? And I said, I have no space in my luggage. I'm not bringing anyone anything. But some of the things you can pick up, like for example, they also have like Greece. They have the blue evil eye, like they call it the evil eye, to ward off the evil eye. So a lot of trinkets and jewelry and other things made from that. So I actually got back a nice bracelet with the hand of Fatima and the blue eye on it. And this was in silver. So you can get it in simple metal, like on the street, or you can go to a shop and get a few things that are made in silver as well. Silver jewelry everywhere is also quite popular in Tunisia, and you have different, from small ones to big ones, anything and everything that you want. Another thing you can buy, Neil, is the ceramics, like these doors, because everywhere in Tunisia you will see these really beautiful doors, especially in Sidi Bouzid, whitewashed walls and these blue doors and other doors all around it. So you can pick up souvenirs and ceramics that are there. So that's definitely something you can bring. Of course, fridge magnets and the other things are available. But I found that these doors that were made in ceramics, because it's like everyone around was trying to take the best Insta shot, against the door, standing there and all of that. But just bring one back and enjoy it. And you can hang it on in your house somewhere, just put it on a bookcase or something. So a lot of souvenirs in that sense, the silver jewelry, like I mentioned, and of course, some food items like harissa and the other things. So there was quite a lot. And when you go through, like there are the cities of Sousse and Hammamet, which are more on the coast of Tunisia. Like we were speaking of the other destinations. So I think we can move on to Sousse and Hammamet. And this is where you will see a lot of these little villages and streets right alongside the beaches. So small souvenir shops that you can walk on for ages. Carpets are something that are really popular in Tunisia. Like again, you'll see Kairouan and the other places. So there's a lot of things that you can bring back. So Kairouan is again this beautiful town, not far from Tunis. And again, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it is the fourth holiest city of Islam. So very important. And back in the day, Kairouan also had a lot of Islamic scholars, like people were really learned, and they would there was an emphasis on education and other things. So Kairouan is really a very important place to visit. In fact, I remember while going there, on the road itself, we saw this huge like a carpet standing, like this monument made, to honor the carpets that are being made there. So yeah, if you want, you can pick up a carpet from Tunisia too. So I think you can have a empty bag with you when you go in, with a number of things you can bring back.
I guess that's true of many destinations, right? Because they have their own arts and crafts. And at like home, Heta and I have this one library area. Of course, you've seen it, Sunila. And when we moved into the house, we kept it empty. We didn't want to go to the stores in Mumbai and get different things. We were just like, we start filling it up as and when we go about traveling. So we went to Seychelles, we picked up like a small thing. Heta went to Mexico, she picked up like this owl thing. And it was the Day of the Dead in Mexico, and Heta was like, oh, should I pick like a skull or something? And I was like, oh, you probably don't want a skull sitting in the library in your house. So something similar over here. And over the course of the episode, I think one thing we've established is get a carpet from Tunisia, if not anything. So
no, and that's a great idea to bring back things from wherever you travel. And Neil, what you can do is every year keep changing, because you don't want to keep looking at the same thing. So whatever you've traveled to, wherever you've traveled to, maybe by December you can change things in your library and have new decor items to look at, right? So you can keep visiting and keep bringing back different things. So I think at least bring back one thing from every place you visit. It's nice to have a memory.
Yeah, that's true. Now, over the last 30 minutes, Sunila, we've spoken about a lot of things, but we've also not spoken about a lot of things. So if we have about 5 to 10 minutes remaining in this episode, what would you like to cover?
Yes, Neil, let me ask you, did you watch Star Wars? Have you watched
Yes,
Star
of course. And I know that Tunisia and Star Wars are very much related. So tell us.
Yeah, so Nefta, which is a small town in southern Tunisia, you have the Mos Espa site here. And this site is where the famous Star Wars films were shot. So, just to talk of the diversity, like I mentioned, you have the beaches of Sousse and Hammamet. By the way, Hammamet, the name Hammamet itself has the word hammam. So it means that the baths here. So like the Turkish baths, you can have a hammam in Tunisia as well. So that's definitely one thing you should try out, because in this entire area, that is also quite popular. So that's something that you can do in Sousse and Hammamet. But coming back to Nefta, Nefta is the place, Mos Espa site, where the Star Wars films were shot. So it's amazing when you actually go there and you see that, to see something different. One more place I would say that definitely, and you'll stay at Tozur to go and see all of this, is Matmata. And Matmata is where the Berbers had these little underground caves that you can go and visit. So they are called the troglodyte houses of the Berbers. So it's really such a variety and so many different things to see there. And then there is also a large salt lake out here, like a Run of Kutch. They also have a salt lake out there. And then you have the beginning of the Sahara Desert. At the same time, in Tamerza, which is one of the largest mountain oases, like close to the desert, you also have the oasis, and you can see waterfalls out here. So, these are also some of the places that you can see in Tunisia. And I just thought it was amazing to go back. Like usually we go to different places and you have the movie references, Bollywood, Hollywood, all of that. But it was just great to have a reference to Star Wars, because I think that's pretty iconic for all of us. And it's kind of otherworldly, right? You think that
Yes.
Star Wars is not on Earth, and you can actually even see that in Tunisia. So for me, that was really quite special.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was
like
amazing.
when you see videos of where Star Wars was shot,
Mm-hmm.
and it does bring back all of those memories,
Yeah.
because when you're watching Star Wars, you're just wondering that, hey, where did they find this location?
Yeah.
And those dots have connected now as I was researching for our episode,
Yeah.
and I came across this thing. So that is very cool. And I think that's one of the reasons why many tourists go to Tunisia, is what they want to see,
Yeah. Yeah.
the site where this is filmed. And I remember we had done an episode called Bollywood Travels, which was the sixth or seventh
Mm.
episode on Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. That was 2 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that, we, of course, took different filming locations from Bollywood movies. But we should do an episode about how Hollywood films have
Yeah,
been
definitely. I
filmed
mean,
in different places, right?
yeah, we are going to LA this year at some point. We'll definitely go, and LA is the home of Hollywood, so maybe we can do something out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that will be very interesting. So
Just
Sunila,
one thing I want to
yeah.
say, Neil, is just going back to the itinerary. When you plan to go and see the home, places where Star Wars was filmed and the other things, just bear in mind that you can't do all of this in 2 or 3 days. So definitely you should look at a week at least for Tunisia when you're visiting, because traveling and then not giving justice to the area wouldn't make sense. So, it's a nice round trip from Tunis, the whole area, but you have to get into the country to see it. So at least keep a week in hand.
And what's the visa situation? Because our departure is on the 26th of Feb. And can anyone travel? Because generally visas take time, right?
Yeah, but Neil, I did say earlier that you, as an Indian national, you don't need a visa to go to Tunisia. You just need a passport that is valid, 6 months validity, which is the Indian requirement, immigration requirement, and just have your passport and set off to Tunisia if you wish to. Because, someone else asked me, but are they conservative? How do they dress? And I said, you can bring your bikini there if you want, because the beaches are just full with people who are just enjoying the beach and the sun and the water. So, all of Sousse and Hammamet have these big, huge resort hotels with big pools, excellent for families, great for honeymooners. I think it's just an amazing destination waiting to be discovered. So it's quite special like that. But no visa required. So, like I
So I
said,
can
go
decide today
tomorrow.
and go day after.
Oh,
As simple as that.
definitely.
Yeah.
If you get the flights, yes, you can. And definitely till 26th Feb, you can surely go. And I'm so excited because it is our first tour as Veena World, and first new tour for the year in that sense, the first new
Oh yeah,
destination.
good way to start 2023. Like there are thousands
Yeah.
of people traveling across all destinations right now, which are amazing already. But yeah,
Yeah.
like this is going to
Also,
be.
Neil, like it does maybe it may sound a little like childish, but and to use the Gen Z language, it's also something to flex about, right? Like when I've
The true
been to a
flex.
place where someone else has not been. So when someone says that, oh wow, you went to Tunisia, like they're pretty surprised and shocked. So if you're in that kind of a person who wants to go and see a new place which is still undiscovered for everyone else, and you're the one telling people, and you're not asking someone that what should I do there, and you'll go there and come back and maybe spread the word to hundreds more people that this is what you can do and that is what you can do. I think it's a great point to visit Tunisia for that
I
as
think
well.
you've given, and so we started the episode saying that put Tunisia on your bucket list.
Yeah.
But the fact that you said that makes me reframe that sentence and be like, put Tunisia on your bucket list in such a way that you go there before anyone else does. And I noticed that
Yeah.
when about Vietnam, when I went there like 10 years ago, so I can
Mm.
really tell people about it. So if you
Mm.
are the first amongst your friends and family to go to Tunisia, that will be like the ultimate flex that Sunila used. But
I
yeah,
learned from my daughter, you see.
yeah, Sarah will be proud. But
Mm.
that's great. Sunila, I think that's it, right? Any other mentions that you have or anything
No, I
like?
just want to say we did speak about Maghreb a little bit, and I just want to complete the episode with that. So, Maghreb means the West, like in Arabic, it means the West. And this is the entire region of Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. And out of that, let me tell you, Morocco is equally stunning, and so is Tunisia. And the Berbers were a traditional tribe that really lived here. And they're very sweet people, very friendly. And another thing which was surprising, well, not surprising anymore, is that in the entire Maghreb region, Bollywood, you'll find Bollywood fans everywhere. So even my driver was a
Mhm.
big Salman Khan fan, and every day he would tell me about some movie or some song from the movie. So it's there is a nice connect with India out there. Like they love having Indians over. I've made a lot of friendships with people who were out there, and it's with the whole mix of this European, African, Mediterranean, Roman, all of that together. I think it's a wonderful trip. But yeah, and with the India Connect, it's even better.
That's true. I guess that is Tunisia, everyone. It was great coming back for another episode of Travel Explore Celebrate Life. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope we've convinced you to put Tunisia on the bucket list because, yes, go there before everyone else does, and you will have that ultimate flex. Let's end it on that. We will see you next week with another interesting episode from this incredibly beautiful world of ours. So, thank you and see you the next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.